Hey there, Michael Manatskainen here. This is the first time I'm going live, I think, ever. And I'm super excited because this is going to be the start of my podcast. My podcast is going to be focused on those who have either achieved financial independence or are working on their way towards financial independence. My number one goal is to help as many people as I can be intentional investors and help them engineer their path to financial independence. And what that means is an intentional investor is someone who knows where they currently stand, knows what their desired outcomes are, and then now they have a plan, a strategy in place to help them get there. And so the guests that I'm going to be bringing on my podcast are awesome people who have already achieved the outcomes they want and are just continuing pushing the barriers to newer and better levels, or they're just starting out on their journey. Maybe they just got on their financial foundation set and they're ready to start investing or have been investing and are just working on that journey towards financial independence. And today I'm very excited to be interviewing my really solid friend and mentor, Jesse Stanton. Jesse is an awesome guy. I will bring him in. Hey, Jesse, how you doing?
Yo, Michael, what's going on, baby? I'm doing good, man. If I was any better, though, I would be you. Thank you so much for the honor and privilege of being here, man. I'm super excited.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. So
absolutely.
I just want to highlight a few reasons why, I'm really excited for you to walk everyone through your journey. Were you able to hear the intro? Were you able to hear what I was saying?
Oh, Lima Charlie, bro. Yeah, loud and clear, dude. Yeah, fantastic.
Perfect. Awesome. So yeah, the overall goal for this podcast, Engineer Financial Independence, Engineer FI, is really just to show people wherever they're at in their journey, how to engineer their path towards their desired outcome, which for most people is financial independence. And the cool thing is financial independence means something different to everyone else, right? Some people want to be billionaires and fly jets. Some people want to live in Alaska like Jesse. For me, I think the most important part of financial independence is the money and time freedom to pursue whatever you want to do. The thing that people know about me is that I'm not the type of person who just stops working ever. I reduce the amount that I work depending on, what's going on and what do I want to be doing with my time. But for me, it's really, do I have the financial and time resource, or do I have the financial resources to be able to do what I want to do on my own time and on my own schedule? And I think we have no better example of that than Mr. Jesse Stanton right here.
Bro, as you were given, thank you, by the way. I really appreciate that. I don't take that lightly. As you were giving that introduction, man, before you brought me on, it's kind of surreal to kind of have gone through that experience. As a matter of fact, I woke up this morning to go to the gym, realized I didn't have any pre-workout. So I ran into Fred Meyer. You guys have a Fred Meyer? You know what Fred Meyer is?
Yeah, well, think of Walmart and Target had a baby. It's right in between them.
Okay, bingo, you hit the nail on the head. So I went into Fred Meyer because like GNC or anything doesn't, it wasn't open for like another 5 or 6 hours. So I ran in there to grab some like pre-workout real quick. And dude, I kind of had this surreal experience myself, man, where sometimes I if I'm being completely honest with you, it's I guess surreal is like the perfect word, dude. Like I'm walking in there and I'm looking at everybody, unloading freight and things from that came in that night and stacking the shelves and organizing things and bringing things to the front and just kind of prepping for the day. And as I'm watching them, I never had a civilian job. I joined the military when I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. But I remember getting out and thinking like, man, if this whole thing doesn't take off like I'm hoping it does, like that's going to be me, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But it was just surreal because I kind of had the same thought process all last summer. I'd take my family camping and fishing and, Alaska during the summer, dude, like construction work galore.
Oh, well,
and I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to go to the gym and they'd have construction going on. There'd be people out there holding signs at 3 a.m. And I oftentimes when I saw that, as I would drive by them, I would think to myself, what's going on in their life? What has their journey been like? Because life is hard.
100%. I think about that a lot. From the sake of gratitude, just being appreciative for the life that I do live. but then also understanding the work that we put, like also extreme accountability and ownership, right? Like you have to work towards the things that are not normal, right? Having financial independence and time freedom is not a normal situation. Unfortunately, I wish everyone had that opportunity, but it takes a lot of work, delayed gratification, a lot of these things that I think people want to do. Maybe they don't have the information. Maybe they don't think they have the time. Maybe they think it is unattainable, so they don't pursue it. All these things, but it's so important to do it so that you can have those additional income streams to then support the lifestyle that you truly want to be living, rather than just working paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. That is a scary existence if something goes wrong, especially if you have people who are dependent on you. And it's really not a fully enjoyable existence. You know, if you are forced to work doing things you don't want to do. You know, I still work. I choose to work. I love my job. I do exactly what I want to do. I help my local San Diego community protect the environment and manage a large team of awesome, experienced people, help, you know, protect our county and the people that live here. I love that, you know, so that's why I choose to continue working. But it's nice to have that choice, to have that flexibility, the freedom. If, you know, when my baby arrives in a couple of months, if I change my mind and working my job is not ideal, or working less hours or something, you know, I have that flexibility. And that's really where I want to get to with your journey, especially. So if we can, we're going to start with the end, your ideal outcome, where you're currently at. And then I really want people to understand your journey to get there, because what you've done is remarkable, especially considering your military experience, but not only your military experience, but the number of years you spent in the military and then decided to go all in on yourself. I think it's a remarkable story that most people don't talk about. And I think most people, military or not, whoever understands pensions would say, wow, I can't believe you took that leap. So at a high level, can we talk about what does financial independence mean to you, especially because you're so much closer to it than the majority of people, you know, and there's levels to it, and you're definitely past certain levels of it. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, in short, financial independence is, I mean, if you were to ask Robert Kiyosaki, it's just when your assets outweigh your liabilities, then you're living for free.
Yeah, definitely. Especially from that cash flow perspective, which you're a super advocate for, making sure you have more money coming in than your expenses. What are some of the things that you're looking to do? You know, why is it important for you? Because obviously it is, and you have really amazing goals that far exceed where you currently stand. But why was it so important for you to do this on your entrepreneurial path, kind of the way you've gotten here?
I read a book one time that was called Church Boy to Millionaire. And in there, he talks about a lot of the things that a lot of us go through as entrepreneurs, and just the setbacks, the mindset, the negativity, the family, the friends who are going, you know, the naysayers. Like you said, people that I used to work with are like, Jesse, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing getting out to, you know, 14 years? And in that book, he also talks about creating a life where you get to live life on your terms and not where income tells you that you have to live. Dude, I remember this was not that long ago, Michael, 2018, when we moved back up to Alaska. My wife didn't have a job or anything yet. I was in the military, and we live out here in Wasilla. And dude, I was looking at gym memberships. I mean, they got Planet Fitness out here. And when Planet Fitness opened up, they have $10 memberships and $20 memberships a month. And I was like, dude, I obviously the $10 one, and I contemplated, I'm like, I would love to get the $20 membership, but I was like, man, am I stretching myself? Like, what if my family needs something? It's $20 a month, dude, $20 a month. And I'm sitting here having these thoughts of like, dude, like, oh man, like am I putting my family in some sort of jeopardy or anything by getting the $20 membership when really I'd probably be just fine? Do you need the hydro massage? Do you need the ability to go to, you know, the other Planet Fitnesses, you know, when you travel or anything like that? And after reading that book, it really gave me a lot of perspective. And I was like, man, I don't want to live like that. I can't tell you how many times like something has gone wrong with the car, the heater core has gone out, or I need new windshield, or I need winter tires. Dude, winter tires for my truck is $2,200.
Jeez. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's,
And so how
and I
often do we
feel what
find
you're,
ourselves in those types of situations?
yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, even to this day, it's still a lot of the times and that's when you take the pursuit towards financial independence, sometimes to a fault, or at the starting point of your journey, it's, hey, I really should better allocate my funds. And I still deal with that a lot. And I'm glad you're highlighting that from the beginning of the journey and then not having to worry about that as you move along. And that's where I think one of the best parts of this path is if you're doing it intentionally, you're doing it the right way, you're saving money in the areas that don't matter just because society tells you it matters to go get a $30 martini at some rant, like whatever, like, you go out clubbing, spend hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on bottle service, but that doesn't mean anything to you. But what does matter to you, or at least to me, traveling, eating good food, have things like that do matter to me. But having a super nice car, I don't really care about the brand of the car as long as I'm a Honda Civic kind of guy, so I just need a good, reliable car that gets me from point A to point B. And I think that's really important that you highlight what is important for you, what has been important. Obviously, you as a family man as well, you carry, you shoulder the responsibilities of being a solid parent and husband in addition to these pursuits. And the fortunate part is, to the best of my understanding, you're able to only because of these pursuits. It's a lot harder when you're actively in the military or something else, doing another job that you don't enjoy in particular mentally, that's a huge burden as opposed to just the financial element of it. But the mental component of working a job you're not satisfied with, not getting paid enough for it, having to travel and do all these things and not incorporating your kids and your family into the lifestyle that you're designing, that's a really hard thing to do. So that's the cool part about your journey, And I do want to highlight one thing that you mentioned that I think most people who are not military won't understand. So when Jesse stated that he got out of the military at 14 years, the military pension takes an effect at the 20-year mark. So he spent 14 years towards this military pension. The pay and all that stuff is whatever. It's once you get that pension, you're basically getting half of your income for the rest of your life, and you're getting healthcare and other benefits for the rest of your life. So 6 years away from that, Jesse decided to go all in on himself and get out of the military. And can you expand on that a little bit about, to most people, that is crazy. They say typically after 10 years, you got to stay the next 10 years and get your pension. Even 6 years. So, you're already in 6 years. You might as well do the next 14. At 14 years, like what captivated you to make that decision and go all in on yourself?
Honestly, it's exactly what we're talking about right now, bro. It's this came up and I can't do this. I want to take my wife to Hawaii. Oh, don't have the money to do this. Every time we got tax returns, it would be spent on something else that, the well froze over. So then there's $3,000-4,000 right there. And then the truck needs tires. And then there's this, you know what I mean? Kids need stuff for school, and they need clothes, and they need winter gear, and, all that kind of stuff. And so that's where like all my money was going. And just being in the military, dude, and I would assume that this was probably similar for a lot of people. I mean, you see this, in civilian jobs as well. I can't say how many people I've heard that say, "Oh man, my boss is, whatever, bleep, 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 and I could do his job way better than him." Now, whether that's true or not is one thing, but there was some aspect of that where I was like, man, like I felt like I was being, my potential was being limited by the mindset or the understanding of somebody, above me.
Yeah, because
And
military, a big aspect of it, just for those that don't know, it's one of the biggest differentiators is time in service. Quality of what you get done helps you in promotions to an extent, but the amount of time you contribute to the military, that is typically what is getting you promoted. So a lot of your leaders are people who have been in longer, regardless of how well they have done. And I'm overly generalizing, but that is an instance, or that occurs quite often. And it's, it doesn't mean the best and the brightest are promoting. A lot of times the best and the brightest are getting out. unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, but those that are in for a very long time are typically your leaders, for better or for worse. So,
Dude, well said. Well said.
mm-hmm.
For better or, I mean, I've had some amazing leaders, but I've also
Mm-hmm.
had people above me that, it was like, dude, these guys should definitely not be in these positions. And it's the same on the civilian side,
Mm-hmm.
And so dude, between a combination of not having the money, being frustrated with the system that I was in, and showing up to work every day looking at my paycheck. And I would constantly ask myself, Michael, like, Jesse, do you feel like you're capable? Are you capable of this? Is this what your worth is? Now you guys can go
Mm-hmm.
look up. I was probably making like $6,000 a month or something like that. That's what I was probably netting somewhere in there, maybe around little. You guys can go look and see what the military gets paid. It's not a lot. Certainly not in Alaska. And when we moved up here, like I said, my wife or anything wasn't working. So um, I would look at that and I'd be like, dude, I am worth way more than this. My potential is way more than this. And it kind of goes back to also what we were talking about in the beginning with, I'd walk into Fred Meyer and I saw all these people. And I'm like, as somebody who's gone through this transformation, I look at those people. I think the natural man, you got the 99%, you got the 1%, the natural man, like everybody, the 99%, if they only truly understood what they were capable of,
Mm-hmm.
I think so many people would just be mind boggled if
And
they
that's the
really
awesome.
put some thought into it. And I don't know. As somebody who's just, it's only been a few years since I've gone through this transition. So not like I'm Grant Cardone. It's not like I'm just so up here and I've been doing this for 20 years that I forgot what it's like to go, stack things or hold up a sign or, do some of those types of jobs. So anyway, it just, it fills my gratitude up, my gratitude
Yeah.
cup up to know that I got out and I bet on myself.
Mm-hmm. And you did have your, and I love this story from you, like what is it, your mic drop moment, right? Did you want to expand on that just shortly in regards to when you were asked, a very common thing in the military is that when you're transitioning out, everyone and their mother and, every single person, veteran, active, everyone's going to say, hey, why are you getting out? They're trying to convince you to stay in and talk about the pension. I really do love that story because, it is one of those mic drop moments and it just further affirm you just betting on yourself. So can you expand on that little piece? And I just know that nugget. And I think the audience would enjoy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, as Michael stated, the military, I would probably, I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it. And as a fellow veteran, I think you would agree with me. The military does a good job of brainwashing you. And they brainwash you, not in a bad way, not like you guys are thinking when you typically hear the word brainwash, but they do. I mean, the military offers a lot of benefits and things like that, which Michael has talked about. But they also do a good job of kind of making you think that you can't make it on the outside. Like there's nothing for you. Like you're giving up all this. Are you sure you don't have your degree yet? You don't have blah, 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 blah.
I'll say, especially on the enlisted side, like, hey, this is all you know. It's all you've done since you're 18 or 17. Like you said, it's a much harder world. It's hard to get a job, all these things. And you don't really know for the most part. So it's hard to know, you're trusting the people that are telling you that stuff.
Absolutely.
Not bashing the military. We love our military experience and everything that came from it. But that is a common theme that is shared that, hey, it's really tough out there. Like, is it worth the risk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not meant, with any sort of negativity or anything like that. The leaders and the people in the military truly care about their people. And it's no fault of them that when somebody wants to get out, that they're like, hey, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you're giving up? Because that's all they've known for the most part. A lot of people
with lots of experience. It's like, oh man, we don't want to lose someone great with lots of experience. And we know that the military pension is remarkable. There's no other pension compared to it. The healthcare benefits are amazing. So for most people, do the next 6 years. That's what's amazing about you didn't just give up like a lowly pension with no benefit. Like you gave up a really good option, a good
medical, everything for
opportunity,
the family. And yeah. Yep.
And
but
then
I had
this is where it comes in.
I had a retired colonel who, as I was getting out, I was probably within about 3 weeks of me getting out. And this retired colonel had approached me. He came over to my building and everything. And he retired in the military, retired as a colonel, and then he was working as a civilian for the military. He came over and he's like, Jesse, I hear you're getting out. And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, what are you doing? And of course, by this time, he's like the millionth guy to ask me, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
So by this time, but when somebody used to ask me, I'd go into detail about what I'm doing. By the millionth time somebody asked me, I already know that they don't understand and they're not really going to care or anything like that. So I started a real estate investment firm, a few years ago and just out buying properties. That was all I said. And he said, listen, we need to have a talk. He said, do you realize what you're giving up? He said, the average person that retires from the military over the course of a lifetime collects $600,000 in retirement. He's like, you're about to give that up? And here's the hard part, Michael. Here's what's so hard about being an entrepreneur is that not only your family, your friends, everybody else who doesn't get what you're trying to do, because they themselves have spent an entire lifetime justifying why they can't or shouldn't do what you and I are doing. Mm-hmm. So how do I tell a retired colonel who spent 30, 40 years in the military, now is working for the DOD? How do I tell somebody like that who that's all they know? How do I tell them, bro, I'm trying to make $600,000 a month? Mm-hmm. You can't. Yep. You can't. He's not going to get that. So
especially like you said, he's emotionally tied to that answer not being even possible, and it's just what he knows. It's his money mindset. It's his limiting beliefs, even without knowing that might be the case for him. Mm-hmm. It really is. Once you start exposing yourself to new ideas, different people who are doing the things that you want to do, mm-hmm. or who are achieving things at levels above the levels that you're currently at. Just surrounding yourself with those types of people is a huge endeavor in itself, because that is what pushes you towards those next levels that you're going into. So thank you for sharing that story. The thing I do want to ask next, right? So we talked about you bet on yourself, you got out. Let's talk about a little bit about your journey over the last several years, and then especially the pivot that you've made recently. I think it's really good for people to understand that for the most part, your journey as an entrepreneur, your path towards financial independence, there is a more straightforward approach to it. The most common approach to financial independence is to work a job, make as much money as you can, save the majority of it, and invest it into the stock market, into index funds, let it grow to a certain amount, and then withdraw a fixed amount of that every year, and you're done. Like, that money you get is what leads you towards, retirement. You did it differently. Life. Yeah. And you did it differently because you, like myself, we haven't really seeked financial independence for the sake of just retiring and never working again. It's more of being able to work on the things that we enjoy working on the things that we want to in our own, under our own terms. You're still working. It's not, we're still working. We're just working for ourselves. And you're working for, you have more of a limitless ceiling, right? There's always a ceiling, but the ceiling is so far that your income potential can be as high as you make it, and I'd really like the big part about this journey, when you're not going just and I love my index fund investing. All my work income almost entirely just goes to the index, to the real stock market. I don't even use that stuff to do real estate. I'm doing things differently now. We'll talk about that 10, 20 podcast episodes from now. We don't want to overwhelm, but the cool thing about this journey is you're constantly learning, which is the amazing part. And you try something and you decide, hey, this isn't the fit for me. This doesn't fit, right? Being intentional with your time and your investing. This doesn't fit what I'm trying to accomplish. and I'm going to use the knowledge that I have from before and then get even better in my next pursuit that is tangential to this or the next step of this. And I think your journey, because you kind of did a little bit of everything, and you've pivoted and you've shifted and you've really doubled down, especially on your buy and hold investing, as someone who has been buy and hold investing, but really doubled down on that and then pivoted from the things that weren't bringing you enjoyment, but you still took what you learned and then it helped you be an even better buy and hold investor. And
100%.
simply, if you could expand on kind of what you were doing for the longest time, or, for a lot of that time was wholesaling. If you want to just quickly explain what the concept of wholesaling is, what you were doing, and then why you made the pivot, I think that'd be really helpful.
For sure. Yeah, no, great question and great points, man. So wholesaling in short is going and buying, not using the word buying. You go and find either maybe a piece of land or a piece of we'll just use the term real estate because that could be single family, multifamily, commercial, land, whatever. You go find a piece of real estate and you go get it under contract for significantly less than what it's currently worth or what it could be worth. And then you take that contract and you go sell it to somebody else who will come in and buy it. So if you have a property that's worth $100,000, you go get it under contract at $60,000. You take that contract, you go find a buyer and sell that contract to a buyer and say, hey, I will sell you this paper for $80,000 and the property's worth $100,000. And the buyer's going to be like, yes, absolutely, I will do that. So they come in with $80,000 and buy the property. 10,000 of that goes to you, and then 70,000 or 60,000 goes to whatever. I forgot whatever numbers I used already. You increase the number, you go get it under contract for 60,000, you sell it to somebody else for 70,000. They come in with cash for $70,000. 10,000 of it goes to you and the rest goes to the seller. So everybody gets what they want. And you get the opportunity to make income without actually having to have any credit or credentials or money or anything like that. And just kind of get your feet wet and familiar with the game.
Yeah, the wholesaler is the hustler. The wholesaler is the person that goes and finds a great deal, but they can't actually execute on it. They're not going to be the ones to buy it or renovate it or sell it down the long term. What they're going to do is put a great deal under contract and then sell that great deal to an end buyer who will then do something for it. And that's how the wholesaler gets paid. That's their value, their service is that excellent contract. And they put in all the work to generate that contract, that deal to sell to an end buyer. You are doing that for years. I've done it for a few years. We both did it, the best type of wholesaling. Once again, we're not gonna get in the weeds of it, but our cash deals that are deeply discounted. You can wholesale deals that are creatively financed. It's a little harder. It's a different market, different game, but nonetheless, it's putting a great deal under contract and selling it to someone else who's an end buyer who's going to do something with it in the end.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about your wholesaler journey, what happened at the end, kind of what shifted, and then why you decided to pivot and double down into your new strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so grateful for my experience wholesaling because it like Michael said, I've reiterated my business. I've started my business over so many times, but each time you start over, you're taking that experience and into your new endeavor with you. And so one of the things I ended up doing, I live in Alaska, and so I'm 4 hours behind Eastern time. Mm-hmm. So when I first started doing this, I had two other partners that were on the East Coast. And because I was kind of outnumbered and nobody wanted to wholesale in Alaska, I was like, all right, well, we're going to wholesale in Florida. And so it was my role in the business to be calling the sellers. We hired a VA and this VA was calling people that were, in pre-foreclosure and they were tax delinquent and had liens and all the other things. And the people that wanted to sell their house, it was my job to follow up on those individuals. Well, the problem was, Michael, as you know, I would start my day out. I would get up at 5 a.m. and I would leave my house at 5, get in the shower and get dressed. And I'd leave my house at 5:45. I live an hour from base. So I'd drive an hour to base. I get to work at 6:45 and I'd work from 6:45 all the way until 4 p.m. As soon as 4 p.m. hit, I got released and I'd drive all the way back home. And by the time I got home, it was 5 p.m. here in Wasilla. Well, that's 9 p.m. in Florida. Mm-hmm. How do I call sellers at 9 p.m. in Florida. So, dude, there were so many mindset issues that I went through with like, Jesse, why did you think you could do this? This doesn't even make sense. How are you? You're not calling anybody at 9 p.m. Nothing, so I'm sitting here feeling bad for myself. I racked up all this credit card debt going into this. And I had all these aspirations of wanting to leave the military and all these other kind of things. And I wasn't getting anywhere. And I remember a mentor of mine, his name is Pace Morby. I remember getting on one of his YouTube channels. This was like 4 years ago. And I was watching a video. Don't remember what the video was about, but I was scrolling through the comment section. There wasn't very many, but there was one of these comments that it was kind of snooty. Like somebody made a comment. Don't remember what the comment was, but I remember reading it like, oh man, it's kind of a dick thing to say. But I remember Pace responded to it. And bro, like Michael, like this was such a godsend because obviously here we are 4 years later talking about it. It transformed everything for me. And don't remember what the video was. Don't remember what the comment was, but I remember what Pace responded. The only thing that he said in response to that individual was, millionaires don't complain about time. No, and here I am. Like that's, if there's one person that could complain about time, it was me. Because not only was I getting home at 5 p.m., which was 9 p.m. in Florida, my wife is a nurse and she worked nights. So she was leaving at 5:30. So we had 3 kids at the time. I got 4 now. One of them was a newborn. So I had to make dinner. I had to care for my kids. I had to get everybody fed. I had to get everybody bathed. I had to get everybody dressed. I was finishing up my degree at the time. And now I had to figure out a way to start this business all by myself. And it all starts at 5 p.m. So I'm sitting here thinking like, how do I do this? How do I even start wholesaling? I don't even have time to make calls because of everything I got going on. And as soon as I read that comment, it put me in a completely different mindset. Millionaires don't complain about time. So I thought for a second, well, if millionaires don't complain about time and 90% of millionaires are self-made, then there's reason to believe that the majority of them have been through something similar. So what would the millionaire version of Jesse do? What am I missing here? If that's true, if millionaires really don't complain about time and I'm over here complaining about time, what am I missing here in my schedule? So I had an idea. And I was like, and that was literally my thought process through this entire thing, just as I outlined it. And I was like, dude, I could wake up at 3 a.m. because that's 7 p.m. in
or
Florida.
7 a.m.
7 a.m. Sorry. I could wake up at 3 a.m. and that's 7 a.m. here in Florida. So that's what I ended up doing. So I'd grab my laptop and I would go out to my car and sit in my garage and I would call sellers. So I'm not waking everybody else in the house up. Dude, I remember this one call. There was even this one phone call I had on a Saturday. This lady, and I just wasn't confident enough in my negotiating or my phone calls. And I would use a phone number to call them with a Florida area code. And I just wasn't confident enough at the time because I'd never done this before. And she asked if I'm in Florida. So I'm like, oh, yeah, we're headquartered in Tampa, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, perfect. Well, I've got this and this going on. This was on like a Friday, I think, like a Friday evening. She's like, I got this and this going on tomorrow. But if you can catch me, if you can make 6 a.m. work, you can give me a call at 6 a.m. Let's talk about it. And I was like, dude, of course I'm going to be up at 6 a.m. Let's go. And so I scheduled this call. And dude, that's 2 a.m. in Alaska. I had to set my alarm for 1:30. Luckily, it was in July. And I remember this like it was yesterday, dude. Like I got up and I made the call. I went outside and I sat on my porch right here out front at 3 a.m. Just, and I got to pretend like I didn't just wake up. Like it's not 3 a.m. where I'm at, right? It's in Florida. Oh yeah, no, I've been up, man. How you doing, Cheryl?
It's good. Sun is shining. We hit the beach later.
So anyway, going through that grind, dude, it did so much for me because I was learning how to balance my time. I was learning how to protect my time. I was learning how to stay consistent. I was learning how to stay disciplined. I was learning how to do the things that would later set me up and prop me up into a position that I'm in now.
And
so that's why it was so important.
To expand on that a little bit, right? Let's say it was the skills and mindset you needed to pursue your financial independence, but maybe, and what you've learned over time and experience was it wasn't conducive to the lifestyle that you wanted to live necessarily. The act of wholesaling, the overall goal of wholesaling for most people is to make money. For most people, wholesaling is a way to, it's like fix and flipping real estate. The goal is to make a bunch of cash in a short amount of time. The idea with wholesaling is you don't need a lot of money to then be able to make money. You're putting in this contract, you're putting in a lot of time and effort. It doesn't really cost Jesse much money to make calls to people in Florida. So he can maybe get $5,000, $10,000 checks selling these deals to buyers, and then use that money if you're intentional about your end goal and it's to have passive income streams, just to use that money to then be able to buy real estate. Same with fixing and flipping. Unfortunately, like a lot of fix and flippers make money. It's like, I don't want to generalize. It's like real estate agents and their commission checks. You make the money and then you buy stuff, and then you got to make the money again to buy stuff. For those who are really pursuing financial independence, you're taking your big paychecks and buying real estate with that. And through your knowledge and experience, and, you know, I like the example that you give, the story that you give about when you went fishing, right? Summertime, your wholesaling business. What was kind of the final straw for you in wholesaling? Because you and your team are making well over 6 figures a month consecutively, which is a huge feat, you know, $1 million years in wholesaling assignment fees. That is not an easy thing to do, but it comes at a massive cost unless you treat it like a true business. Even then, I mean, you need to oversee your staff and make sure they're doing all the right things. And the more people you have, the more people you're splitting the income with. So it might seem like you're making a lot of money revenue, but your personal profits are minimal. What was it for you, the final straw that made you decide, I'm going to pivot to something that more aligns with my actual goals, my actual path towards financial independence? What was that for you?
It was the last 2 years, dude. The last 2 years specifically. I met with I got with my current business partner, Chris James, in June of 2022. And that's when him and I went into business together. Beg your pardon?
I said, shout out, Chris.
Shout out to Chris. Yeah, so him and I got together June of 22, and we were like, dude, I don't know what this partnership looks like. I don't know if we'd be a good fit for each other. I don't even know what our roles are going to be, but just to see how we work together, let's go try to help people in our community. Let's go try to help other investors get deals. And through working and helping people get those deals, we'll figure out a way to work together. We'll see how we work together and if we'd be a good fit to continue doing stuff together with. So that's what we ended up doing. We ended up filling up. We took 2 weeks. And the only thing we did in those 2 weeks was we created a Calendly account. So we filled up our calendar for like 60 days. So that way, every single day, it wasn't like, who are we going to help today? What are we going to do? Twiddling our thumbs, hoping opportunity comes. We went and filled out our Calendly. So, Michael, every single day we had meetings 8 hours a day. So we had an hour-long meeting with 8 people every single day. Now, that didn't include any other time to call title companies, calling sellers, or anything like that. This was just networking. This was just finding opportunity out there.
What was your goal with networking? Just so people understand, why did you decide connecting with so many people was going to be ideal for you? I know you stated your intentions were to help other people, but what were you looking to help them with in those scenarios? And I know it's a variety of things, but I think that would help. Like, what was your thought process behind dedicating full work weeks towards networking?
For sure. Great question. So what me and Chris are really, really good at is negotiating. And so if anybody had deals where they didn't know either how to negotiate it, how to structure these creative financing tactics to be able to get into properties with no credit, no money, no nothing like that, that was something that we were really good at. And so it was like, hey, here's what we can offer you. But then as we started networking with all these people, I mean, we were talking with close to 50 people a week. And so when you talk to that, I mean, just in 1 week, when you go to the next week and you start talking to even more people, if somebody needs help with something that you can't directly help them with, odds are I've probably already talked to somebody else who can. So then that's where I started like making money as like a connector and connecting people. And anyway, and that's how I ended up, building my business through making all those connections. But what was really interesting was within the first 60 days, we made $72,000. And so we're like, oh my gosh, dude, there's something here that nobody's talking about. we need to go connect with more people. So we maintained that for probably about 4 or 5 months. And dude, our first meetings, by the way, Michael, were at 8 a.m. Eastern time, which was 4 a.m. in Alaska. So the summer of 2022, we're out camping and fishing and doing all the things. But then at the same time, like I had already built up that discipline. So even while I was out camping, bro, I would set my alarm, because when you're out camping, you stay up late. You're not really, you're not going to bed at 8 p.m. and getting ready for the day, and all, you know what I mean? So even when we go to bed at 10 or 11 or midnight, I was still getting up at 3 so that I could get out, get dressed, grab my laptop, put my laptop in the truck, and I would drive to the local library in whatever town that we were camping in. And I would sit outside the library because they're not open at 4 a.m. But I'd sit outside the library, bumming their Wi-Fi, jumping into these meetings. And they were just networking meetings. It could have been very easy for me to say, you know what, guys, can we bump these meetings? Can we start them at, noon Eastern time? But I didn't do that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd already built up that discipline. So by the time that hit, and that was something that really resonated with my partner, Chris. And he noticed that. And I never missed a meeting. My work ethic. Yeah. And so it was like, dude, we definitely need to be doing something. So anyway, long story short, I ended up hustling all summer long, and then all winter long. And then summer of 2023 rolls around, and I'm doing the same thing, bro, where we're doing great things. We're making good money, but I'm an employee in my own business. It's not like I can leave and go to Hawaii for 2 weeks and have my company still making money. You know what I mean? If my acquisitions manager or somebody like calls out sick, or their girlfriend or their wife or, significant other, whatever comes up, and they're like, we're going to take a vacation. We're just going to kind of leave you guys to go ahead and handle these leads. We'll try to help out where we can, but it's like, you can't build a business like that.
Yeah. And I think
so that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and summers in Alaska are short, as you know. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back. We would go camping, but my wife and my kids were out going hiking. They were out going fishing. They were doing things. And I'm stuck in the camper, basically turned my camper into a mobile office, an office with wheels. And I'm still busting my ass 18 hours a day. I'm like, dude, this is not why I got
the big part for like intentional investing, right? Like to be an intentional investor. I think, it sounds like you then took the time. We'll talk about your pivot and what you decided to double down on instead, and your success in such a short amount of time. It wasn't, that's the thing, right? Everyone always says, oh my gosh, you're an overnight success. Obviously, I always joke, oh yeah, I'm an overnight success for 6 straight years, right? Like it's been 6 years of overnight, right? It's not just, you're seeing this one piece of it, but you have to consistently be working towards it. And all the failures and successes and learning and investing and mentoring and coaching and mindset, like all that took you to that point. Like people don't see that part a lot of the time. But it sounds like for you were making the money that you were looking for, at least somewhat, but it was not intentionally building the lifestyle that you were seeking. It was, you're connecting with people, which is great. You're making money, which is great, but you're not really doing it on your own terms, on your own time, like in your ideal workday, what that would look like. And you're not really building like a fix and flipper, like a job. You're basically making money. And once you stop working, the money stops rolling in for the most part. Even as a business owner and employee, you're making money as the, as you put in the work for it.
Yeah. 100%. Well said, brother. Absolutely.
So then at that moment, obviously, we've talked about it. That was a spark for you to decide, hey, I'm going to pivot. What was your strategy behind that? Why you decided, or how you decided what you were going to pivot to? I guess, yeah. And then why, I guess. I mean, I think I just talked about it, but.
No, you're good, dude. You're good. No, that's great. Thank you. Great question. I was tired of wholesaling, man. That's not why I got into real estate. I think there's a limiting belief. And I think I would dare even venture a guess. The majority of people, the reason they're wholesaling is simply because of a limiting belief in themselves and their ability to either go raise capital, to implement and bring people into your business, and to be able to delegate. to create systems and processes. It takes the same amount of time, energy, and effort to make $10,000 a month as it does $100,000 a month. But when people hear that, they never take the time to find out why, or hire somebody to explain to them why and how to do it.
Mhm.
So in their head, they're like, I want to do these things, but I can only do this thing when I have money. And so I'm going to stay over here and I'm going to try to wholesale so I can get now money. And then I'm going to make 10,000 a month, and then I'm going to grow my business to make 20 grand, and then 40 grand, and then 80 grand, and then 100 grand. And then once I'm doing that, then I'll take that money and then I'll go buy into real estate. Now, we had purchased properties while we were wholesaling as they kind of fell on our lap. But our intention was just to be a wholesaling business, and it was a grind. And after missing out on 2 summers here of just not seeing my family, telling my family, hey, you know what? I'm going to get it to this point. Then I'm going to, then we can go fishing, and I'm going to get to this point. Then I can go fishing, or, hey, I've got this one more meeting. Let me wrap it up, and then we'll go fishing, or then we'll go hiking. And it never was. And it was 2 wasted summers with my family, dude. My kids are young. And I started contemplating and gaining clarity on why did I get into real estate? And I think most people got into real estate to buy properties. But they jump in here. They start out with something called uninformed optimism, where they find out that, hey, you can change your family financial means by getting into real estate, and they scroll on Instagram and they see the Lamborghinis and all this other stuff. So they jump in here excited. They're on a high of uninformed optimism. And then as soon as they start finding about, the grind and everything that's involved in it, it kind of starts going downhill from there. And people end up in this, they're like, oh, well, I don't have money to go buy properties like I wanted to. So I guess everybody else is wholesaling. It sounds like everybody else is telling me that's where I start. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's interesting in my experience, Michael, you know how in general we talk about the 99% and the 1%. I think even in real estate, once you get in here, there's still the 1% and the 99% under that umbrella as well. And you got to look at what the 1% are doing. 99% of everybody are going to jump into real estate. They're going to jump into that umbrella. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, I don't have any money. I don't have any resources. I don't know how to do it. And the easiest thing for me to do at this point is to just go wholesale.
And the thing is, wholesaling is like hard. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's, wholesaling is a grind. I mean, you're trying to typically help someone or buy a property at a discount from someone, and then be pissed off, constantly negotiating with that. It's a whole drag. It's a whole hassle to get them to the closing. Like, it's this whole hassle. Like, wholesaling itself, teach their own. But to me, wholesaling sucks. I know to you don't like wholesaling. I love what wholesalers do because I buy deals from wholesalers. I don't like wholesaling myself.
But that's where I made the pivot.
Yeah.
I was just done with it, dude. And I was like, this isn't why I got into real estate. So we, in September, so just was that 4 months ago, we completely dissolved our wholesaling business. We got rid of our acquisitions team, our dispositions team, and we restarted a brand new business fourth quarter of 2023. And we set out a goal and we said, hey, you know what? We're just going to be buy and hold investors. We're going to take everything we know and all the people we know, and we're going to go out and we're going to set out and we're going to put a goal to buy 50 doors by the end of the year. So that was the pivot that we made.
And I know personally that you crushed past that in that short time frame, which is amazing. But that's the thing that I want to highlight, right? This whole process, as we're coming to an end on this podcast, the whole process, everything is a process. You don't go from 0 to 50 doors. Jesse was able to because Jesse had his partnership. Jesse developed years of skill sets and the mindset and overcame limiting beliefs, and had a partner who, him and his partner and those that they hired on, built systems and did what they needed to over a long time period, developed the skill sets to then, when they made the pivot, they were ready for it, and then scaled tremendously from there. And that's really what I want to highlight, that your financial independence journey is quite literally that. As I mentioned, the most simplest form is earn more money or save money, earn more than you spend each month, save it, invest it into the stock market or real estate, and then let that build up. Or you develop a lot of skill sets and make yourself so valuable to the marketplace, where what you and I are able to do now is we don't have the money to buy real estate. We're not even generating our own deals to buy real estate. We have the knowledge and experience, the systems, the credibility to then pair other people's money to other people's deals, buy them, and be the owners of those properties, whether fully or partially, with our partners who are lending us the money. That's the point that you get to.
Well said. Well
I don't want to say that you can't just make that leap immediately, but it's really hard if you haven't built your foundation. There's a reason why when I started investing, like I said, it was stock market. And then it was, I'm going to house hack. I'm going to live in I'm going to buy a multifamily property, live in one unit, renovate the other, rent it out, do it again, start wholesaling cash deals, start sending letters to multifamily homeowners to structure off-market deals, learn about creative financing, and then get to this point in Jesse's journey of wholesaling while working, wholesaling independently, connecting, making money that way, wholesaling again, right? And then exploding as a buy and hold real estate investor. It's because of all the time and effort and skills you generated and created to be able to do something like that. So I do want to highlight that, we talked about, with this podcast, right? Engineering financial independence, engineering your path to financial independence. It's understanding where you're starting out, where you want to get to, and then figuring out how do you actually get there? What's the journey look like? Just like, we talk about this all the time. People get into real estate and want it to be immediate. Sometimes it is. More often than not, it's not. You need to give it the same grace and patience that any other thing that's worth doing is. You don't go to the gym one day or 1 week and get a super ripped body. You don't go become a doctor, the next day. You spend 20 plus years in school to then become a doctor. Like, this whole thing is a journey, and the most important thing is being intentional and committed and consistent on what you need to do to get to your ideal outcome. The cool part is you have a lot of control over that. Actually, you have all the control over that. I know life circumstances happen, but it's ultimately up to you what you decide to do with your time and financial resources. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's all right. I'm going to let you go so you guys can have your Nerf war. Is there any final thoughts? And then I just want to, ask it, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
For sure. Yeah, no, thank you, bro. This was awesome. I'm so humbled and grateful for the opportunity. Thank you. I just say to everybody, get super focused. I know this sounds very obtuse, and this is what took me a while to figure out. It is so vital to get clear on what it is you're trying to do. We often jump into real estate and we throw such a big, unspecific general goal of, well, I just want to buy real estate. I want to do this, or I want to do that. But you don't have absolute clarity on what that looks like. And so because of that, your day-to-day habits and actions and the way that you execute on them, to include the people that you talk to, it's not being met with as much intention as it could be. Mm-hmm. And you want the shortcut, focus on the result that you're after. Don't get caught up in the process. There's too many times where I've asked somebody, hey, you want to go buy real estate? What's keeping you from going and buying a deal today? Well, I need to skip trace a list, and then I don't know which list I should get. And then no. We're getting caught up in the process right now. What's the fastest way to go buy a deal? Why don't you go buy a deal today? And when you focus on the result, instead of getting caught up in the process, your mind does this wonderful and amazing thing where it starts to find the fastest way there. So that would be my advice. Like, take some time and get some clarity on what it is that you're trying to do and what's the result that you're after. Take some time to ponder it, because this isn't just, oh, well, Jesse told me to, okay, don't know what I should do. Take some time and ponder on it. Go ask some people who are doing what you want to be doing. Say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. I want to make a list of some things that I could do to get there. Give me some help. What are some thoughts that you have? Mm-hmm. Nothing will affect your business more than the caliber of your relationships. So make sure you're surrounded by the right people. I'm so grateful for Michael and the opportunity that him and I have had. Dude, we were talking a few weeks ago. We we're like, dude, when did we actually connect? And we spent like 5 minutes on the phone scrolling through Messenger, trying to go all the way up to where we first talked. And dude, it's been over 3 years now.
Yep, September of 2020. Pretty insane.
Almost 3.5 years, man. Wow.
And I'm super
So
grateful
amazing,
for our
dude.
relationship. So thank you.
Likewise, my brother. Thank you
And
so
thank
much for
you
the
for,
opportunity to come here.
yeah, thank you very much for highlighting that as well. You know, you know, my plug, right? What Jesse is saying is you got to be intentional about what you want, and then the actions and the habits that you're implementing, the strategies to get towards what you want. Because it's so easy to say yes to everything that comes your way. It's a lot harder to say no to everything except for those things that are intentionally leading you to your desired outcome. And I struggle with it all the time. Most people struggle with it, but you have to be cognizant of that and then work specifically towards that. So thank you, Jesse. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Thank you, Beryl. I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram. So if anybody has any questions, anything that I can do to be a resource, obviously, goes without say, but please feel free to reach out. I would love to help any way that I can.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, brother.
Jesse.
Love you, Michael.
Bye, Jesse.
See ya.